Hello, welcome back to Snoop My Diary. Today, we're going to be snooping my notes app from when I was arguably my most depressed as a teenager. A woman's notes app truly contains multitudes. I think my notes app is even more honest than my diaries. Like, my diaries have a lot, okay? Like, I don't sugarcoat things in there. I do feel like maybe I hold back a little bit in the diary. I think about things a little more before I write them down. It takes a little more effort. The notes app is so brutally honest. There's quirky little jokes. There's gratitude lists, there's my manifestations, but there's also like text drafts to people I argued with in high school. There's so much. I feel like the accessibility of the notes app just allows for it to be more raw and authentic. You don't have to think about taking out your phone and opening the notes app as much as you have to think about grabbing a journal and a pen and whatever. So the notes app has just truly seen it all. And for some reason, the notes just stay on your phones forever. Like every time you get a new phone, the notes are still there. So I have notes ranging back like decades, not multiple decades, like a decade. Okay, I have notes from like over a decade ago. So there's a lot of growth that has happened via my notes app. And today I wanted to read some notes from my notes app from, again, like I said, my most depressed era. Oh, was it this was probably my worst, I want to say. Most of these are from 2017. Most of them I was around 17 years old. So 17, what can I say? It's just a very pivotal time. Dancing queen, young and sweet, only 17. I was not feeling young and sweet when I was not feeling like the dancing queen when I was 17, let me tell you. A big trigger warning, I guess, for this episode. Like I said, this was one of my most depressed times in my life, so we're gonna talk about depression and eating disorders and all that mental health stuff. So if that is upsetting to you, you might want to sit this one out. The first note is from July 19th, 2017. So this is the summer before my senior year. This is when things got really stressful, really real for me. I've said this in several videos, episodes, whatever, that what really triggered a bit of a mental health crisis for me was the fear of graduating high school and not knowing what I was going to do with the rest of my life. What were my college plans? What were my post-high school graduation plans? This was all very stressful for me. I think this was a text I sent to a group of my friends, just to like vent and get out what I was feeling. So I think this was a text that I sent, okay? Hi, so I'm the most stressed I've ever been, and I'm going to type a fat thing in my notes to vent and maybe send it as a text, but I guess if you're reading this, that means I sent it. I don't know what to do, I guess. This summer has sucked, honestly. I've hardly had any time to do fun stuff, and when I do have free time, it's after work, and I'm too exhausted to do anything, so I just sleep. Basically, the three things that are stressing me out the most right now are work, yearbook, and AP Lit. Yearbook isn't a huge deal, I guess, because we have some time to figure it out, and I can always tweak things, but still. Like I said earlier, any free time I have, I'm using it to sleep or hang out with family or friends if possible, to prevent me from going even more insane. So I haven't been doing AP Lit. I don't even know what I'm asking. Just like, what do I do? Do I quit? Am I crazy? Am I just bad at time management and I should be able to balance all these things easily? Honestly, if I could do whatever I wanted with no consequences, I'd quit in a heartbeat because I fucking hate working. I hate getting up at 7 a.m. to pretend to be nice to rude-ass people while I'm being watched like a hawk by management and later criticized for not doing good enough, only to come home in the evening and be so emotionally drained that the only things I have energy to do is scroll mindlessly through my phone or sleep. I miss having time to paint or go on walks or hang out with family and friends, or even just be able to go on my phone or watch a movie without feeling guilty because I actually have something more important I should be doing. My fear is, what if I quit and I still don't make time to read for school or work on yearbook or do art? And I think about that constantly, and I feel like shit because deep down I know how lazy and unmotivated I am, and I want so desperately to change it, but I feel stuck, I guess. Also, money. I mean, in this very moment, I don't need money for anything. I'm just terrified for the future, and I don't want to be in horrible debt like everyone else. And I want to be able to make money and not just spend the stuff I've already earned. Also, this pride thing I have where I feel like if I quit now, I'm such a failure. I haven't even been there 3 months, and I'm already debating quitting. I feel so dumb. I just wish I could make it all work out. Maybe I just need to stick it out until school starts and then ask to cut back my hours a lot. But right now, the thought of working a single hour more in that place makes me anxious. I don't know how I'm going to last to the end of this week, let alone till school starts and beyond. I feel so stupid, like I'm supposed to be growing up and learning to handle work along with my current responsibilities, but I just can't. I can't handle working too. I wish I could stay 15 and hang out with my friends whenever I want and not worry about how I'm going to pay for anything in the future. And I feel like from an outside perspective, I look like I'm crying over nothing because my job doesn't appear stressful, but I can't help but feel incredibly overwhelmed every second I'm at work. Even if there's no customers and I'm just refilling a stapler or something dumb like that, I'm so anxious thinking about what I'm doing wrong or how I look like to people watching me. I don't know if this is something I just need to suck up and get over because that's how life is in the real world, or if there's a way to avoid feeling this way, or if I'll feel like this regardless of where I work. Am I just being dramatic? I really don't know, and I'm sorry this is so long and rambly. I wasn't gonna send it and just vent in my notes, but I desperately need feedback, so please just tell me what you would do. I don't really know. Oh, I don't remember what my friends said in response. They probably just like tried to comfort me, but I feel like a lot of my friends at the time didn't feel as much pressure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just didn't express it as much. But from my perspective, it felt like they had a better grip on things, a little better handle on their responsibilities. And I always felt like kind of the chaotic one who like didn't have it all together. It really bums me. I will say this, okay, the whole I talk about this in my episode on like limiting beliefs and where my limiting beliefs originated from. I talked about how my mom used to, once in a while, she would say things like, well, this is just the real world. It's only going to get worse when you get older. Like, welcome to being an adult. Things like that. She would tell me when I was like really stressed out in high school, like trying to balance a job and school and extracurriculars and trying to be an artist on top of all of that. So I remember getting that belief instilled in me, and I kind of talk about it in here the way I'm like, oh, my job doesn't appear stressful, but I'm overwhelmed, and like, do I just need to suck it up and get over it because this is the real world? Like, but I can say confidently that it does not only get worse as you get older. It actually has gotten a lot easier for me. And I truly think one of the hardest things I've done in my life is work a part-time retail job while being in high school. Like, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And maybe it was exaggerated by just being a teenager and like hormonal and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I've done like anything hard. That's fucking hard. High school was hard. High school was the most academically challenging for me. Like, college was hard too, but at least for the most part it was stuff I was more interested in learning, so it felt a little more worth it to me. Obviously there were some classes in college I still didn't care too much about, and like that was more of a challenge, whatever. But high school was like just more difficult for me in general. I'm dealing with like my mental health crisis on top of all of this. Like, I feel like being a teenager at like your first jobs is really tough because people just like, nobody wants you there really. Like, you don't really want to be there, and like the people that hired you probably don't even really want you there. They'd probably wish you were like a more competent adult, but you're just a kid, and so I don't know. But yeah, management was kind of on my ass sometimes at that job. I do remember, even though I feel like I was always a good employee and always did my best, I do feel like I was criticized a little bit unfairly there. So that Obviously, that is exaggerating things. It makes me sad that I was this stressed out during like the last few years of my teenagehood. I mean, I love the age I am now and I love where I'm at in life now, but part of me is like, damn, like you were so young and like didn't like you were so stressed about like work and school and like not having making time to have fun. And maybe this is why teenagehood is like the concept of, I feel like a lot, what am I trying to say here? I feel like society, a lot of us really put teenagehood like on a pedestal where like this is your prime youth, like have fun, like it's only gonna go downhill from here, like enjoy being a teenager because these are the best years of your life. Like I don't know, I feel like I heard that a lot growing up. And so when I was experiencing this, I was like, what the fuck? Like these are the best years? Like if it gets worse from here, I'm not going to be good. So that's like what scared me the most was I kept hearing things in my ear of how high school and being a teenager is like supposed to be the best part of your life. And meanwhile, I was miserable. So I was like, fuck, if it only gets worse from here, like I'm screwed basically. I wish I could talk to her and tell her, "Hey, it doesn't get worse. It gets so much better." And like you need to just stop listening to people saying that being a teenager is the best years of your life, because maybe they were for them, and if that's true for you, like sorry, that kind of sucks that the best years of your life were when you were a kid. I mean, I have a lot of fond memories of being a kid, don't get me wrong, and being a teenager. Had a lot of good memories sprinkled in here as well throughout all the mental illness, okay? I can acknowledge that, but also I'm just so much more mentally stable now, and I have more free time because I'm not in school to like devote to my hobbies and like my passions and things that bring me joy that I did not have the time or energy to dedicate to when I was a teenager because I was just so focused on school and work. So yeah, part of me is kind of sad. Like I feel like I wasted my teenage years being depressed and stressed over these things that in hindsight probably don't matter as much as I felt like they did in the moment. It's like, yeah, I do want to go back and like redo things and like wish I was more chill and just enjoyed being a teenager. But I also feel like I got a lot of like this existential dread out of the way, and now like I've been there, I've processed that, and now I feel like I have a better outlook on things and I'm more positive and I'm more sociable. I'm like just a better human overall. Like not to shit on teenage me cuz she was going through it and doing her best, but I am just much more confident with who I am as a human now. So I feel like I'm giving myself the teenage experience that I wanted as a teenager and never got. I feel like I'm in the last couple years of like being in my 20s. I feel like that's what it's looked like for me, is like giving myself the memories and moments that I wanted to experience as a teenager and giving them to myself now in my 20s, when again I have better finances, better social skills, better confidence, better time management, like better everything now. Yeah, that was very interesting. I feel like I need to move on to the next one because I could just sit here all day and talk about that one, but let's move along. This one is from August 26th, 2017. This was another text, actually, that I sent to my mom. Should I read it and then give context? Yeah, I'll just read it first and then we can talk about it. So, August 26th, 2017. This is well, I wrote this in my notes app first, but I did send it as a text to my mom, okay? I don't think you understand how frustrating this all is. Do you think I enjoy coming home and sleeping my day away? It's not exactly my ideal way of spending my time. One of the reasons I hate my job so much is it drains me. I'm not an extrovert. Having to deal with people for hours on end exhausts me. That's why I come home and just crash. I'd love to spend time on art, but sometimes I can't bring myself to do it. A lot of the time, I don't even see the point in doing art because it doesn't seem to be getting me anywhere, even when I do put in time and effort, and that's so discouraging. Not to mention, it's not helpful to feel all this and then just constantly hear that I don't try hard enough. So I remember sending this text to my mom because this is by this time, like, school is just getting started, so I'm getting into my senior year of high school. I'm still working at my retail job, and this was one of the worst retail jobs I worked. So I'll give myself that. Like, it was definitely, like, not my favorite job that I've worked. It was, I feel like, a more stressful environment than some other, like, more chill retail places I've worked. And again, I'm serious, you guys. Like, if you work while being in high school, you are braver than the Marines. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like working while being in high school is the hardest thing ever. Probably not. I'm sure there are harder things, okay? But I remember, I mean, obviously at this point I'm a senior in high school and I'm supposed to be making plans for my future. And I think I was working on, like, portfolios to apply to art schools, but I was not. I'll be honest. It's easy to say now in hindsight. It's like, girl, you really weren't working on those as much as you could have been. But also, I get it. Like, you were stressed as fuck. And, like, the last thing you wanted to do was, like, pour your heart and soul into making art. You just wanted to fucking take a nap, like I said. But I remember talking to my mom and, about, I want to pursue art after high school. Like, I want to go to art school, maybe. I don't know. But I want to do something with art. And she made a comment, something about how, like, you say you want to pursue art, but I never see you working on art. I always see you coming home from school and, like, immediately falling asleep, or, like, just all you do is go to school and work, but you don't make time for your art. Like, are you sure you're serious about art? Because I don't see you making art. So something along those lines, which, again, from my, like, developed adult brain, I do see where she was coming from. I probably wasn't managing my time as great as I could have been. I don't know. So multiple things are true at once. Yes, I probably could have made more time and, like, tried to form healthier habits to be able to support myself and my passion for art. But also, it is also true that I was very mentally ill and feeling a lot of pressure already, okay? But yeah, I just sent her this text because I was like, you know what, Mom? Here's why I'm not making art. Because I'm fucking miserable. Because I'm miserable and I'm exhausted and I'm burnt out from senioritis was setting in. I feel like I'm just now, in the last year or so, getting back into having more of an artistic practice for me, just for myself, not for, like, other people, and not for, like, school. But yeah, when I was working full-time, like, I don't work full-time right now, I work part-time, and I'm not in school, and so I do have a lot more free time than I did as a teenager. And as a result, my artistic practices are flourishing so much more now than they were when I was, like, in college, when I was in high school, because I actually have the time and the energy to invest in my art. I'm aware that art isn't the hardest thing in the world. I'm aware that it's not super, like, physically taxing, obviously, but I do think art requires a lot of energy. And if you are just constantly pouring yourself out into different areas of your life, if you're going to school and, like, I feel like being at school was like a performance all day. And the same with working retail. I felt like I would go to school for 8 hours and put on my school performance, and then I would go to my job and put on my retail cashier persona and put on that performance, and then I'd come home and perform that I'm not mentally ill to my mom, do the best I could, and I just constantly felt like I was performing, and it was exhausting, and therefore I had no energy to put into the performance of art. Does that make sense? I wonder how she responded to this. I don't remember. She was doing her best. I gave her a tough time. I did. I was not. I was a nice kid, but I was mentally ill again. It's like she didn't know how to deal with me, and I don't like. blame her for it, but at the time it was a little difficult. We had a little rough patch in our relationship. I love my mom now, and I feel like, I mean, I always loved my mom, but I feel like I can talk about these things with her more openly now. Back then it was, I felt like we weren't on the same team. Does that make sense? But now I feel like we are more so, and that's beautiful. Okay, this next notes app entry is trigger warning. This one's a little darker. You can just see like my downward spiral, my downward, I was gonna say regression. You can just see my mental illness take over the deeper, like into the school year I get. It's really sad, actually. Like, it's kind of breaking my heart. Okay, this is from November 25th, 2017. So deep into the first semester of my senior year. It's getting rough, okay? This is not a text draft. This stayed in my notes, okay, for the record. I don't feel alive anymore. I lie in bed for hours because I can't be bothered to do anything useful with my time, even though there's 1,000 things I could be doing. I just put it off and hope there's no consequences. I didn't go to work today, said I had a sore throat. Partially true. The thing is, though, I gave myself that sore throat from vomiting, and when I woke up today, I felt fine physically but couldn't stand the thought of going to work, so I just didn't. I try not to feel guilty, but I feel guilty about most things. I feel most guilty about how I hurt people from hurting myself, because no one should be upset on my behalf because I'm not important, and I don't want anyone to be upset over my own self-destruction. This is something I do to myself, and I don't want to drag others into it. I try and have things to look forward to, like Disney and college and stuff, but lately I can't even think of those things because I'm just so scared all the time. You know what sucks? I'm going on a trip with my mom in a couple weeks, and it's supposed to be a fun birthday trip, but I'm going to be so focused on food and how I can't count calories or throw up when I've eaten what I deem is too much. I haven't seen my friends in 3 days, and I feel like I'm dying. I only feel okay when I'm with them and not eating. I want to live in that. I don't know how I'll live without them, and I mean that to the fullest. I can't imagine living without them, and that scares me because as the days go on, I find myself caring less and less about being alive. If I'm left alone for more than an hour, I'm sure to go insane. I think about everything: food, the future, my relationships, my life as a whole. It overwhelms me to no end. My head hurts. Where did this even come from? A couple months ago, I was so happy, and now I feel like I've reverted back to my 14-year-old self, and I just feel so dumb and childish for thinking this way because I thought I was over this mess. Ugh, ow. Okay, let's discuss. Let me just talk about the ending here. I feel like I reverted back to my 14-year-old self. I wrote this as I was 17, about to turn 18, and when I got deep in my mental illness for like the first time, I was around like 12 to 14. I feel like those years are when I was being I don't want to I feel like can I talk? Hello? I don't want to say I feel like I was influenced by like the media and stuff, and maybe I just would have come across these things on my own, without social media, but when I was like 12 or so, maybe even before that, I don't know, whenever I had access to the internet, shouldn't have been given unrestricted internet access as a child. I found like eating disorder and like self-harm and like depression blogs, like on Tumblr or on Twitter or just like independent blogs. I don't know. I became very into consuming that content when I was very, very young. And so that did a number on me. So that's what I said when I felt like I'm reverting back to my 14-year-old self. That's what I was doing when I was 14, is I was getting deep in that shit. That's when I went to therapy for the first time. Eventually, when I ended up confessing that I was struggling with self-harm to my parents, and I got into therapy for the first time when I was like 14. So that's what I meant. I was like, damn, like I thought I got over this stuff, which I definitely didn't, and that's why it came back again. And makes so much sense looking back and seeing the pattern of things. Like when I got really my most depressed the first time, when it really hit its peak, I was about to enter high school. So big change, big stress. Hello. Like that makes sense that this is how you're reacting to a stressful situation. And I feel like it was the same when I was approaching graduating high school, and because I was so unsure of the future, and it scared me and it stressed me out, and I just ended up reverting to old coping mechanisms. And I've done this again. I've relapsed again since I was 17. We've been good for several years now. I feel like I'm the most stable I've ever been. I'm not saying I will never relapse on things. I don't, but I mean, I feel pretty confident that I won't. I feel pretty good. And yeah, so I'm glad. But I think that's what happens when you don't fully kind of get to the root of things, either in therapy or on your own, like whatever you got to do. Yeah, I just feel like I didn't fully address my issues the first time around, and that's why I was just reverting back to these coping mechanisms in a time of stress because I didn't know what else to do. I talk about in this note how I didn't go to work because my throat was sore from making myself throw up. That's really fucking sad. Um, I talk about how important my friendships felt at this time. It's interesting. I don't even really talk to any of my high school friends anymore, except for like one. But yeah, we just aren't like super close these days. So it's interesting to read about how at one point they were like all that I felt like I had, which I'm really grateful for that I had people to lean on at least, or to distract me from my brain, from what I was feeling. And that's another reason I was so scared of graduating and going to college, is because my friends were going to different schools, and we were all going different places or had different plans, and I was just terrified of not knowing anyone and having to make new friends, because I had been with these same people since like middle school. So yeah, that was really rough, but I am very grateful that I had those people to, like I said, at the very least, just distract me from what I was from what I was feeling. And I will say this as well. This is probably why I was a more irritable teenager, not just because of the cliche, like hormones, whatever. I don't know. Hey, when you don't eat, when you don't fuel your body properly, you get really evil and mean. Okay? When I was the deepest in my eating disorder, I was so irritable. I was so mean because, hey, guess what? I'm hungry. And when you're hungry and your body can't function properly because you haven't given it any nutrients, you're going to be a raging bitch sometimes. I don't even like to say that word, but I was definitely a bitch at times to my loved ones because I was torturing myself, because I was not taking care of myself, and it was reflecting in how I treated myself and how I was treating others, you know? Again, I don't remember exactly, but I was probably getting back into like the eating disorder, depression, blogs and stuff at this time. I'm sure I was, because I whatever I was, experiencing, I've always been an internet girl, so whatever I'm going through at the moment, I'm gonna be watching content around it. Does that make sense? And when you get into some of these spaces, it becomes so all-consuming, and you start to think this is normal, and you normalize a lot of really harmful behaviors, and it gets really comfortable in that space of just the echo chamber of everyone is so ill, and we're all like validating each other's illness. Oh my god, and it feels so good to have this thing in common with these people. It's so fucked up. I know some people can argue those spaces offer support for one another. I feel like I rarely saw that. I feel like I always saw like very destructive behaviors, people encouraging that behavior. It was very rarely let's like try and get better, guys. Like I never fucking saw that. And so I really feel like those spaces should be abolished. Like yeah, it was so damaging. God. This next entry is very eating disorder focused, so feel free to skip if you're not into that. This note is from December 21st, 2017. And I have some numbers in here, like weight numbers. I'm just gonna not say the number because I don't think that's necessary. Well, I hate this. I found out my weight today and I want to fucking kill myself. I loved not knowing, but now I know I'm blank, aka a fucking fat ass. I'm telling myself it's because of how bad I binged yesterday and hoping I'm more like blank. But I'm going to start obsessing over my weight now. That's why I didn't want to know. Because I was fine with just taking progress photos and seeing my body change, but now that I know the number, I have to make sure it goes down. It's so frustrating being fat and having a restrictive eating disorder because I'm not an unhealthy weight. In fact, I could lose weight and still be a healthy weight. And it sucks so bad because I'm not ready to get better, because getting better means eating normally, and eating normally means gaining weight, and I'm already fucking fat. So what am I supposed to do? I mean, yeah, I want to get better and eat like a normal person and be happy, but I think I want to lose weight even more. And that's what it comes down to with eating disorders, right? It's like, yeah, I want to live a normal, functional life, but I think I want to be skinny a little bit more. This is why I think I let my round 2 of eating disorder go kind of. I tried to not pay attention to it or like acknowledge that it was a problem for so long because I wasn't weighing myself. And when I had my first major round of eating disorder a few years before that, I was obsessively weighing myself and, making sure the number was going down. And I wasn't doing that this time because I knew that would make me obsessive. And I didn't want to be obsessive. I was just gonna obsessively take progress photos like every couple days and make sure that I looked like I was getting smaller and make sure my clothes were getting looser. But I'm not weighing myself and I'm not obsessed with a number. So therefore, I don't have a problem. That's how I rationalized it for some reason in my brain. As long as I wasn't obsessed with the number on the scale, as long as I wasn't focusing on that, I was fine. That means I don't have an eating disorder. I don't have a problem because I don't care about my weight technically, even though that was just like a roundabout way for me to justify all the damaging behavior, all the disordered behaviors that I was participating in. I will say it does suck having a restrictive eating disorder and not being visibly like sickly thin. Does that I really struggled with that because both times my first round of eating disorder, I never really got help for it. Like I went to therapy around that time, but it was mostly for the self-harm, and I don't even think I addressed my eating disorder to anybody. That's again probably why it came back for a relapse, because I never fully processed it or addressed that at all. But I always felt like I wasn't allowed to acknowledge my eating disorder, or like I felt like it would be embarrassing if people found out that I was starving myself or that I made myself throw up. I was like, if people find out that, it's going to be so embarrassing because I'm not skinny. They're going to be like, girl, you starve yourself and make yourself throw up and you look like that still and you're still fat. Like that's how I felt. So even though, hey, guess what? You can die from eating disorders even when you're not like malnourished. You can have a heart attack and die from starving yourself or from making yourself throw up. You can have so many health issues and die while still being a healthy quote unquote weight. Okay? And I didn't really know, or I wasn't educated on that, and I probably wouldn't have cared even if I was, because I was also like suicidal. So that wouldn't have even deterred me probably. But just so you know, like, hey, you can have so many health complications from the actions that you are doing to your body, from malnourishing your body, regardless of if you appear sick. Does that make sense? Oh my god. But again, that's like why I didn't want to tell anyone about it or get help for it, or when I was forced into getting help for it, I was really angry because I was like, how dare they make me get help for this when I'm clearly fine? I'm barely surviving on like crackers and apples, but I'm fine. I'm not visibly malnourished, so therefore how dare people that care about me make me get help for this, because I don't have a problem. I don't, I do think this, when I found out my weight, I think this is when I was getting forced back in to get help again for like eating disorder stuff, and so I had to go to the doctor, and they weighed me there, and I found out my weight is still, I wish I could say like I didn't feel like this way still, but I have found that I do think it's for the best for my brain to not know how much I weigh. I do think that's good for me to not know. I found one time I found out my weight in college, and it was so much higher than I thought it was, and that sent me kind of back into the disorder for a brief stint there. Like, it's just, I do feel like if I found out, like, I don't know how much I weigh right now, and I haven't known for several years, and I feel like really healthy and good right now these days. Like, I feel like I take care of myself decently. But even the last time I went to the doctor, I like purposely didn't look at the scale, and like I will tell my doctors like, hey, I don't want to know how much I weigh, if that's cool, and it's never been an issue. So I do still do that to, maybe I'm scared that if I knew, it would trigger something in me that's been lying dormant, so I just don't even want to like tempt myself. Like I said, I feel like I'm pretty healthy and stable these days, but I don't need to know. Like, I truly don't need to know how much I weigh. Like, I haven't known for years, and it's never been a problem. If my doctor wants to know, so they can, know how to give me proper dosage for things or whatever. Like, if they want to know, cool, they can know. I don't need to know. It does not affect me. Like, when I try on clothes at the store, I say, okay, like, does this size fit? Like, you don't need to know how much you weigh when you're trying on clothes. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's just it's an unnecessary number for me to know. Okay, last note from the notes app for this episode. This one is a little bit later. This is from my first year of college, so a year after the last entry I read. This is from December 28th, 2018. So yeah, I moved away. I'm in a different city. I'm at art school. I feel like I was definitely getting more recovered from eating disorder and like all my mental health stuff. Like, second semester of my senior year, I was on the up and up, and by the time I graduated, I was feeling pretty good, and I was definitely not like deep. Oh my god. I was definitely not deep like in the eating disorder anymore. By the time I started college, I felt pretty stable enough to start college, even though it was a very stressful like change for me. I feel like I handled it decently. Anyways, December 28th, 2018. It's a bad night. I haven't had one in a while. I want to lose weight, but for me, losing weight has always meant starving. He told me not to eat peanut butter. Too many calories. Something so stupid, and it killed me. He reminds me of my bad voice, and now I just want to go back to shoving my fingers down my throat. He must think I'm an idiot, a fat idiot who can't control herself. Why he's with me is a mystery. I'm fat and ugly. His family must hate me. They must wonder why he didn't get a slim girlfriend. I wonder too. I'm so disgusted with myself. Why can't I just fucking eat healthy? Why is it so goddamn difficult? I hate myself tonight. I've been happy this year. I usually don't feel this way, but tonight I feel very bad, and I hope it's just tonight. So if you couldn't gather there, the he that I was referring to, he told me not to eat peanut butter, too many calories. That was my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. That was my first boyfriend. I am airing him out right now. Sorry. I'm not sorry. This was not a nice thing to say to your girlfriend. And I'm actually cool with this ex currently. Like, we are chill, we are friends. If you're watching this, hi. Sorry to expose this incident, but it was, it's not good, not cute. I feel like my body image and like my weight was always on my brain. I mean, I'm only just now in the last few years starting to get over this and like not make that my highest priority, not have that be at the top of my brain all the time. And I've made a lot of strides there. But for like all of my adolescence, all of my like teenagehood, and even into like my early 20s, my body and how I looked and how I felt like I looked was so top of brain all the time. And I only ever felt like I could lose weight by punishing myself, by starving myself. I Eating healthy was always such a challenge for me because I love food. I really do. And it was so hard for me to find a balance there for so many years. Like I would binge sometimes, and then I was like, okay, well, I clearly can't eat normally because I just binge, so I might as well starve myself. Like I only saw the two like ends of the pendulum and didn't realize, hey, there's balance. We can try to find balance. And my boyfriend at the time was also very mentally ill, and I think that's why one of the ways that we initially bonded was over our mental illness. And his family, his parents have spoken so many like damaging things into him and instilled these beliefs in him when he was a child about food and about body image as well. And so I see he's obviously just like regurgitating some of that to me, like saying that peanut butter has too many calories. Like that's probably something that was regurgitated to him as a child and it stuck with him, and he was just repeating it to me. Is that something you should tell your girlfriend who is recovering from an eating disorder and is just happy that she's eating these days? No, you should not tell her that. I remember I lived in the dorms, and so I didn't have access to like a full kitchen to like cook myself things. Like I was eating from the dining hall most of the time and like trying to be kind of healthy there, but like I would have like toast and with peanut butter in my dorm room sometimes. Okay. And I guess I mentioned it to him, and he said basically like, hey, aren't you trying to like be healthy and like maybe lose weight? Why are you eating peanut butter, stupid? No, I don't know how he said it, but like that's how it felt. And then I obviously just spiral, and I'm like, why is he even with me? I'm fat and ugly and disgusting, and he should go be with a skinnier, prettier, more mentally stable girlfriend. I do remember him saying, like, his mom, I think, or someone in his family making comments about my appearance and how I wasn't the slimmest, I wasn't the skinniest girl, which, like, I was never, I don't know, even at my very heaviest, which was, like, after him and I broke up. Like, I feel like my very heaviest was, like, at one point in college, like, post-COVID, maybe. Even at my heaviest, I was never, like, that big, okay? Not that it fucking matters, and, like, that should not determine your love for someone, and you should not place value on, like, in this case, her son's partner. Like, that should not be of any importance to you, like what body type they have or what they look like. Is your son happy with me? Is he, are we healthy for each other? No, we were not. Clearly that's why we broke up. But yeah, I just said basically him telling me that peanut butter had too many calories. It was basically like my eating disorder voice personified in my boyfriend, and that fucking sucks. Nobody wants to hear their eating disorder voice come out of their boyfriend's body. Like, God, that's the last thing I fucking needed. I don't think this made me spiral too hard. I think I was pretty okay after this. I think my last, like, really bad eating disorder phase, this sounds bad, I feel like my last really, the deepest I was in it was 2017 was my senior year of high school. That was probably the worst of it. It probably ebbed and flowed though, again, throughout my life, like throughout college and throughout my 20s. Like, I really feel like only in the last few years have I kind of put a stop to that voice, and like it's really quieted down, and it's still there sometimes. Like, I still hear it, but I'm like, damn, that's like that annoying fucking eating disorder voice. Like, who gives a fuck what she thinks? Like, she's stupid. Like, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't nourish her body, and then she gets grumpy. Like, why would we even care what she has to say? Does that make sense? But I am glad. I don't think this incident really, like, made me spiral too hard. I think I was pretty over it by then, and I was obviously in this note, I'm really going through it, but I think I was able to, like, snap out of it, and yeah, I'm really proud of myself for that, for not letting, somebody else get in my ear and ruin the progress I made. Because I had been through therapy, I had really worked on myself, and I wasn't going to let somebody tell me that peanut butter is unhealthy. I love peanut butter. We love peanut butter. I eat it all the time. Just coming on here to officially end this podcast episode because my camera battery died and I don't feel like waiting for it to charge to say like 5 more words. Okay, so that's all for this episode. Take care of yourself. Get help if you need help. Maybe I'll leave some like resources down below for, you know, if you or someone you know is struggling with eating disorders, with self-harm, with mental health issues of any capacity. I really encourage you to talk to someone about it. You are not alone. I know these are all very cliche things to say, but I just feel like I should say them and tell you that it definitely gets better. I am in a very different place mentally than I was in the notes that I read today. That feels like an entirely different person, and I'm so proud of her for pushing through those times to get to where we are now, which I am so much happier and healthier now. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. Grateful to have you here listening. I will see you soon. Okay? Bye!